Hi everybody, it's a real pleasure to be here with you. I've been promised that the clicker is now working, so bear with me. Oh yeah, good, very good. So my name's Rob Burley, I'm the Chief Exec of a charity called Medical Alert, and I'm going to tell you two stories that converge on why I'm here talking about safeguarding for older people, particularly with dementia, through the Herbert protocol. So I'm going to start by giving a bit of background about the charity Medical Alert. Oh, look at that, it does work. So we've actually been around as a charity for over 60 years, and we were first set up in America by a family who were concerned about their daughter living with severe allergies and the risk of being exposed to allergies, and that a first responder or paramedic wouldn't know the issue they were facing. And that's grown into a worldwide network of charities with the same name, with the Medical Alert name, available to support people 24/7. So I'll explain a bit about that and then link it back to the Herbert protocol. So people who may have heard of Medical Alert may know us for our jewellery, and there's some samples, our medical ID. So there's I'm not going to risk using a pointer here, but so essentially, an access point into our service is someone who is worried about living with an allergy or is vulnerable because of a condition that might make them susceptible to a medical emergency, wearing a small piece of ID around a pulse point that has some very basic information about the condition they're living with or an allergy they have, so that if they are in an emergency, and particularly if they can't communicate themselves, a paramedic or first responder has some immediate information. So it might be allergic to penicillin, it might be has epilepsy, those kinds of information. Crucially though, on the back of the ID is a unique ID number and our 24/7 helpline. So that actually what the ID links into is a really full piece of data that someone has chosen to share with us, so that can be shared on their behalf. So interestingly, linking back to earlier discussions about data protection and GDPR, people share data with us purely so that we share it with other people. So we're a slightly sort of different kind of service. We have all the necessary safeguards and things in place to facilitate that. But we're so much more than just the ID. So behind the ID is a full digital medical record, and crucially that's validated by our team of nurses, and I'll talk about that more in a second. And that means that essentially anyone can choose the information they share, and they can upload documents that they're about their condition or letters from their specialists, so that essentially the paramedic can access that through our helpline. We're the only charity working in this space, so we're not for profit, and we strive really hard to keep our service accessible. We do charge a membership fee for our full service, but that's heavily subsidised, and we do have a number of programmes that keep the service free of charge to those who might not be able to access it otherwise. We work closely with the NHS, and various NHS trusts and parts of the NHS charities recommend us to their patients and the people they support. And crucially with the service, an advocate for an individual can set up and manage an account for someone. So if there's someone, a particularly vulnerable person or a child, a carer or an adult can manage the service, manage their record on their behalf. So really, safeguarding is at the heart of what we do in terms of we're a service that really provides safety and well-being for vulnerable people. A really crucial element of the service, just to embarrass Emma, who's at the back, who you might have spoken to at our stand earlier, is that really unique to us, we have nurses at the heart of the service. So everybody who has a profile with us has that profile checked by one of our nurses, and they're available to talk through what might want to be on the record. So it's really important to us that we have that health professional input at the heart of the service. So when people have control of their data and their profile, it's still sort of checked by a health professional. So I'm now that's Medical Alert. I'm now going to talk about the Herbert protocol and then bring the two together. So we didn't invent the Herbert protocol, and I'll explain the name in a second. But the Herbert protocol is a scheme that was developed by police in Norfolk and Suffolk. And that's certainly where it's credited to. And it's named after a man called George Herbert, who was a D-Day veteran who was living with dementia and would regularly go missing. Some of the terminology you might hear is goes wandering or walking with purpose, but would become lost and confused, or his family wouldn't know where he was. So after multiple missing persons incidents involving George, the local police worked with his family and came up with a form, essentially a Herbert protocol, it became known. where they just listed description of George, his photo, and then where he might go. So he likes to go to the pub, or he goes to his childhood home, and that's often the case with dementia. People will wander to somewhere that they're familiar with, and so therefore, if you can alert police or other authorities as to where they might go, that can significantly shorten the search time and make things as safe as possible. And the volume of the problem is that we know that dementia is a huge growing issue. There are nearly 1 million people already living with dementia across the UK, and that's set to grow. 70% of people living with dementia will go missing at least once, and over 40,000 people in the UK are reported missing for the first time with dementia. So it's a really, it's a really growing problem. And obviously, in terms of safeguarding, what happens in that period where someone's missing and vulnerable, that can have a really serious outcome, and then implications on the family as well. So we already support a large number of people with dementia through our core service, through the core medical alert service. So as we were exploring how could we increase our reach and support for people living with dementia, we realised that the Herbert protocol, which is generally a paper-based system, so it's a form that sits in someone's home or with their family, we could use our secure database that we house our profiles on to provide for free a digital storage for the Herbert protocol. And again, linking back to data, the conversations that came up earlier, what's been really interesting is a learning point for us is that police forces have really taken to partner with us because we can securely hold the data and they don't have to hold the data. So the police don't hold the data, they access it via our 24/7 helpline if someone is reported missing to them. And we have systems in place that we can share that data via a secure email address and a validated email address. So just to kind of bring the two things together, we provide the Herbert protocol completely free, both to the individual and to the families, and to the police. So it's free to sign up, and our nurse team are involved in the event of someone going missing. We store the essential personal information and share it sort of quickly, and our 24/7 helpline is accessible. If people then were to choose to become a full medical alert membership, be it for dementia or other reasons, essentially that then means they access the purchase of a piece of medical ID, and they have the nurse validation, and it's available worldwide. But the two things are separate. So if you were to want to promote the Herbert protocol, there is no charge to the people you're supporting. It's completely free. You can see an example of the Herbert protocol form on the stand afterwards if you want, but essentially it's just an example of the kind of information we give, and this is now done all online. So we do it through our portal, and we're there to support people through that. So we have a trigger if people start to fill one in but then move away from it, so we can kind of work with people to help them through the form. So just a quick example of that. And this is the process. This is really how it sort of works in the moment of someone going missing. So when someone is reported missing and the police believe that the person might have dementia, they will call us through our 24/7 helpline. We do a very quick check to see if we have that individual on our database, and it's just surname and postcode. And if we're satisfied that the person calling is asking for that information to be shared via a recognised police email address, we will email as a PDF to that police email address. In some police forces now, some police forces prefer us to send it to the officer who's making the call, but actually more and more we're sending it to a central team within a police force. And then crucially, and why it's so great that we have nurses at the heart of the service, once we have had information back from the police about the outcome, we will do a follow-up call with one of our nurse team to the family or to the individual, once we know they've returned safely, to signpost any other support they might need, and also just update the form that they hold. Partnership is really crucial to us in terms of making the Herbert protocol work. We only launched the Herbert protocol service fully in May this year, and we're already holding over 2,500 records. That's growing quite rapidly, particularly in areas, I'll come to this in a second, in areas where we have an active involvement with local police forces, but it's available nationally and accessible nationally, irrespective of the sort of local relationship with police. One of the reasons I think I highlighted the fact that we're a charity right at the start is because we're doing this on a charitable basis, and because our core service is not for profit, it's meant that we've opened up really great conversations with dementia charities as well. So the charities like Alzheimer's Society, Dementia Carers Count, essentially we're able to offer something that they can't offer and wouldn't want to invest in, and therefore we're not competing with them, we're working in partnership. And I just think as charities that's really key. And we as Medical don't have the access to the dementia community that they would do, but also that you here will do. So a key message for me is we'd love to work with you to reach people who you might be in contact with who might benefit from the service. I've meant the UCL logo at the bottom sometimes prompts a question. As I said, this is really a growing problem and a growing awareness of the problem. So we're involved in a funding bid with UCL to capture more data on the experiences of people who go missing living with dementia. And we find out shortly if we've scored a research grant that they're leading to get more data and information back in terms of are there any specific characteristics or specific types of dementia that make you more vulnerable to going missing or make the experience of going missing more dangerous. So that's why UCL are on the slide. So I talked about police forces, where this is just a snapshot of some of the police forces we're working with. We'd love to be working with all police forces in Yorkshire, not just the North Yorkshire Police, but as I said, it's not a barrier to supporting an individual with the Herbert Protocol. It just means that where we have a partnership in place with police forces, it's a quicker route into the missing persons investigation. So in Thames Valley Police, for instance, it's now a recognised part of their missing persons protocol that they call us straight away just to get that yes or no on the Herbert Protocol form. Really importantly, we're working with the National Police Chiefs Council as well to try and get a unified model. Each police force does it slightly differently. Each area has a slightly different version of the Herbert Protocol. So we're keen to kind of try and share learning across the country as well, across the whole of the UK. So really, this is where kind of the offer comes back to you. We have a number of literature available. I've left some Herbert Protocol leaflets on everyone's seat, so we've got a supply with us. But essentially, if you would like resources for where you're based or for your practice, do please get in touch with us. We'll send them out completely free, and they guide people through the process. We also have leaflets and posters available for the core service, and we've distributed some in partnership with a provider through the sort of Sheffield and Yorkshire area. So if you're working in a GP practice, you may have received some of these already, but we'd love to send some out to you alongside the Herbert Protocol stuff if you think actually your patients would be interested in the medical ID service, and if you have people who would benefit from managing a condition or having the peace of mind from having a medical ID with them as well that's been validated by a charity. So yeah, that's my email address and our phone number. But really, we'd love to have conversations with you either after this, although I'm conscious everyone may want to head off. So do please get in touch with us because we'd love to come to more and more of these events. We'd love to catch up with you online, and we'd love to have chats about how we can partner and spread the word, particularly about the Herbert Protocol, but also about the medical alert service. So yeah, thank you very much.